Hi folks, the Filipina P here, telling it like it is. When I first started my channel, I did a lot of research for my feminism video and I ran across an interesting viewpoint held by many Western men that, quite frankly, I mostly agree with. It's not so much a movement as it is a lifestyle choice, but since Western media seems determined to ignore them, or worse, I'd like to share what I learned about MGTOW, men going their own way. Now, I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of this wrong, but you guys can correct me, and I'm sure you will. The reason I find these men interesting is that, in many ways, they seem like natural allies to us Filipinas and women of other Asian countries. And because there are so many of them showing up on our shores, and in my comment section, I thought it would be interesting to discuss just who they are and what they have to say. For those of you unfamiliar with the analogy of the red pill, it's a reference from the movie The Matrix, where Neo is offered the choice between living in blissful ignorance by taking the blue pill or seeing the ugly reality by taking the red.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
MGTOWs have, of course, chosen the red. But what does that actually mean? What reality do they think they see that the men around them refuse to admit? Well, according to the MGTOWs, you Western men have been sold a lie. You were raised to believe a Disney fantasy. Work hard, be a good man, treat your wife well, have children, retire in your golden age and enjoy what you've earned. That's the way it should have been. It's what your parents and society told you it would be if you were just a good husband and provider. But as you got older, you saw the glitches in the matrix. You became aware that something was rotten in Denmark and every other Western culture, where women seem to be going way beyond the desire for equality, which is a just and noble goal. But the women in your culture became loud, vulgar, aggressive, physically unattractive, and you notice it from the sidelines of your life, comfortable in the belief that it didn't really affect you because maybe you were already married and settled. But then, something happened to your own relationship, and you got a bitter taste of the new reality. Maybe your kids were taken away, your bank accounts destroyed by lawyers and greedy exes, and when you finally recovered from all that, you realized that the world you thought you lived in was now cold and barren. Your women no longer value or respect you because big government has replaced you. Instead of being the hero, somehow you're now the villain. Marriage is poison to you, and you see absolutely no benefit from it. You're angry, and rightly so. But understanding the reality has resulted in several distinct philosophies. Now, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but there seems to be a segment of the MGTOW population that has become completely anti-female, who view all women with suspicion and don't seem to care much about the way they interact with the opposite sex. While I can understand how their experiences have left them feeling this way, I don't agree with their views or actions. The term AWOL, which means all women are like that, only applies in a broad sense. I feel your pain, but not all women are out to separate you from your money. Not all of us are lying scammers, and not all of us are your enemies. If you're just here in the Philippines as a pickup artist, or to get revenge on the women here for how you were treated back home, or to use my country as a playground for your sexual escapades, and don't care who you hurt along the way, I have no sympathy for you, and you're not my friends. If, however, you're one of those men that's reassessed his options, but hasn't given up on women altogether, then let me refer back to the statement I made earlier. It seems to me that MGTOWs and other red-pilled men might be the natural allies of us Filipinas, because in many cases, we're the exact opposite of the very things you detest. I have a feeling that might be one of the reasons there are so many of you here. When you look at us, you see an Asian version of the women in your own countries from 50 years ago. And in many ways, you're right. So what is it about Filipinas that you find so appealing? Why are we considered by many to be such a desirable catch? Well, let me take a minute to tell you some of the ways we are different from what you're used to. The things that make me proud to be a Filipina. If you're lucky enough to find yourself in a relationship with a quality Filipina, and yes, there are many of us, here are some things you can expect. We're feminine. We take care of ourselves and try to look like women. Even if we're completely broke, somehow we find a way to wear dresses and style our hair in an attractive way. We're frugal. Generally speaking, a Filipino won't go on extravagant shopping sprees even if we have the means. The dress I'm wearing? 100 pesos. $2. We're not used to having much money anyway, and mostly all we worry about are basic needs. It really doesn't take much for us to feel safe and happy. We can cook and know how to take care of a household. Unlike the dying art of cooking in much of the Western world, give a Filipina just a few simple ingredients and she'll cook you something that will leave you full and satisfied. I'm happy to say that I'm a pretty darn good cook myself. We make great companions. Most of Filipinas I know would be happy just to spend their time with their mates, sharing the passage of time as a couple, not as two people who happen to have the same address. We're patient, we don't nag much, and we actually care about your opinion. Doesn't that sound refreshing for a change? And maybe the best trait of all, we're not consumed by careers and the desire for personal recognition. We tend to have simple goals and we're happy just being who we are. If you find a good one, Filipinas can be among the most loyal women in the world, and we know how to keep our men happy. Isn't that worth taking a closer look at? Even if it means totally restructuring your life and coming to a strange land with a strange culture? I guess you have to ask yourself, what is it you want out of life? What's important to you? What would make you happy? And that brings us back around to the MGTOWs. Just for fun, try Googling MGTOW. The very first search result brands these men as a misogynistic, anti-feminist group tied to white supremacists and the alt-right. In my opinion, that's absolutely ridiculous. From what I can tell, MGTOWs are just men who refuse to play the game in a system rigged against them. They rather work on themselves as individuals and find enlightenment through self-improvement. They're not even a group. There are no protests, no demonstrations, no apparent organization. Just individual guys who see through the smoke and the mirrors of the Truman Show they were living in. Now, most MGTOWs would rather be boiled in oil than ever consider marriage, and many of them don't even believe in long-term relationships. But some of them still entertain it as a possibility, if the right conditions were met. And it's those men I'd like to address as I close. To them, I would say, think about the reasons why you became a MGTOW, and then look closely at the women and culture here. Now answer this one question honestly. If the women in your country were like the more traditional women here, would you ever have become a MGTOW? No, you don't need a woman to complete you. And you don't ever need to put your assets at risk again. But maybe, just maybe, life here still resembles the way things were supposed to be before everything went to hell back home. Just food for thought. After all, you're on my channel for a reason, right? Well, that's all for today, folks. But as always, I'm working on something new I think you'll enjoy. So stay tuned. Till next time. You probably didn't notice, but in my last video, I placed an Easter egg to see if anyone was paying attention. There was something written on my legal pad during the court scene, and only 4 people figured it out. The message said, if you can read this, be the first one to comment on it and you'll win a personalized video from me. Well, congratulations to Eddie Moore, who was the first one to actually decipher it and post it in the comment section. Hope you enjoyed your video, Eddie. Now, since everyone knows I like my fun and games, I intend to place things like that in the future videos too. So if you're alert enough to spot something that looks out of place, investigate it if you want to claim bragging rights and show the world just how clever you are. But since not many people noticed the last Easter egg, I've made this one really easy. In the video you just watched, a random sequence of letters appeared on the screen for a fraction of a second. The first person to unscramble the 3-word phrase the letter represent will win a video of me praising your linguistic prowess. Now, I'm not gonna announce future Easter eggs, so it's up to you to spot them. Good luck! Sir, do you have any idea how fast you were speeding? Speeding through my video, skipping all the ads, and not paying attention to a word I said? I'm gonna let you go with a warning this time. A warning that you better give a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to my channel. Got it?
I don't even want to watch your stupid videos.
Alright, out of the car. I think this one needs a full cavity search. The hard way. And for the rest of you good citizens, may I suggest watching my other videos too. Just remember, I can have you in handcuffs anytime I want.